Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Unplugged Woodworkings podcast. So what have I been up to? I have been making some brackets for a shelf. This was actually pretty cool because it was a joint that I've never cut before. This was a mitered bridle joint. I enjoyed doing it. It was a little bit more tricky than I thought it would have been, so as per usual when I do these joints, I often tend to get humbled by them because I go into it thinking that, you know, they're going to be a lot easier than what they are. I don't know why I always do this, but I do. I did make a little video on this, just a little short video what I put on Instagram. I probably am going to do a full video explaining the full process of the joints, kind of making the shelf basically. So probably by the time you listen to this, it should be posted on YouTube. So if you want to check that out, obviously there'll be links in the description. So I also, for the very first time, had a go at making my own finish. So just today I actually tried it out on my living room table. So today I basically used a card scraper, took all the old finish off. I started sanding it. I sanded it to, what did I sand it to? 220 grit. 220 grit. And I applied the first coat. The first coat looks actually pretty good. Maybe another 2 coats. I'm hoping not to go past that. It's actually, I don't think it's kind of ideal for a table, although I could be very wrong, but unfortunately I don't think I am. So I'm just going to have like a little mess around with some finishes. Finishes in general, I mean, I do like Osmo oil, but Osmo oil, you know, you're looking at like 2, 3, 4, 5, however many coats. But the issue that I have with Osmo oil, it's like it's sticky, it gets all over the place, or at least I get it all over the place. You know, if it drips, which it often does because I'm careless, it goes onto my floor, because I do most of my finishing in my kitchen, which there's no other place for us to do it, basically, because if I do it in the shed, the shed's obviously full of sawdust, and it's, as you know, it's just not a good place to do it. So most of my finishing gets done in my kitchen, and even now there's bits and bobs of Osmo oil that are on the floor. You can't really notice them, but if you look close, you know, you can. And I'm really going to have to go down with maybe like some sort of maybe a chisel or something like that, and get the drips up, you know, like basically cut them up. But yeah, so I did have a go. The first coat, it looked pretty good. It's kind of like a little bit more than a matte finish, so you have got a bit of a sheen to it. I'm hoping to get a bit more of a sheen more towards the satin on the second coat, possibly the third coat. This is just a blend of beeswax, mineral oil and coconut oil. The ratios, what did I do with the ratios? The ratios were like kind of, I put a bar of beeswax in. These were like small like bars what I got off Amazon. I got everything off Amazon. And from that I done an extra 3 parts coconut oil, and then I done 4 parts mineral oil. That was to the 1 bar of beeswax. So I did actually try this on one of the brackets first, and I kind of, it didn't seem as good. So what I actually done, I actually melted the whole thing down again, and I put in a half a bar of beeswax, which I used on the table today. So it seems a lot better, but obviously nothing's dried in properly and whatever else. So I'm not gonna know how well it is, for a couple of days basically. But I'm kind of hoping that if it goes well, I'm gonna like kind of be using like my own finishes from now on. What I liked about it was I've got nothing to worry about. My house doesn't stink, or rather it does stink, but it smells nice. There's a nice like floral smell. Like coconut. You've got the coconut oil in the beeswax, so it's quite a nice smell. As I said, I do like Osmo oil, but it just when I do it in my home, it just smells like paint, and it's not a nice smell, and it does linger for a couple of days. So that's one of the things that I liked about this finish. Another thing I liked, it doesn't drip. That's really, really good, and I don't have to wear gloves with it. This is obviously food safe, yeah, food safe. So basically, I can get it on my hands and not worry about it, which is again an added bonus. So one of the things I kind of probably going to do is I'm going to mix in some linseed oil into the mixture and kind of have a little experiment with that, and see what that does to the finish. But I'm kind of my goal is to get a finish that's going to be like safe. It's going to be like it's not going to be too much of a faff on, and it's going to give us good results in maybe like two or three coats. I don't really want to go past that. Ideally 2 coats. Well, if I'm telling the truth, ideally 1 coat, because I tend to lose interest after the first coat. But that's kind of what I'm aiming for with that. So kind of see how I go with that. Okay, so what impressed me this week? Well, nothing impressed me this week. Rather something like it annoyed us a little bit actually. And this is kind of how I like come about to make my own finish. There's probably going to be some of you that know the story, and this might have been a recommended thing. It just come up, and this is a Daniel Dunlap Woodworks, and he's been having a bit of a to do with the owners from Odie's Oil. Now, Odie's Oil, it sounds really, really good, and I wanted to try it, but because Daniel has been, had a bit of a to do, and basically, from what I can gather, the owner of Odie's Oil has just been a bit of a jerk. He's been kind of putting people down, the likes of myself and people who work in garages and sheds. It's kind of not on, because it's like people like us are actually lining his pockets. We're putting food on his table, and he's got the audacity to to put people down. It's kind of not on. He could have easily apologised. Daniel actually put this, he's put a story together, and it's all clips. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. I just thought it was really, really rude. It was really bad, really unprofessional. Obviously, it's not just Daniel saying this. He's obviously got evidence. He's showing you messages, and it's not on. So I'm kind of glad I did come across it, because I was going to buy some Odies, and it's a pet hate of mine. I hate the big guy trying to put the little guy down, or trying to rip the little guy off. It's like we in the UK, we get enough of this with the energy companies at the moment. It's like I detest things like that. and to get it from, you know, like on the woodworking side of things, I thought it was very unprofessional myself, you know. So, but if you just kind of want to check that out, like, if you know, if you kind of use odies and you're thinking about using it, you know, maybe if you're that way inclined, you know, maybe think about trying something else and check the story out. Like, I think it's really bad form on odies parts, you know, really unprofessional. But that's all I've got to say on that. So today, I thought I would talk about, like, fiddly things, kind of things that stress us out a little bit when I'm making them, or I'm doing the task, whatever, you know, just things that are like really awkward and stress us out a little bit. So first on the list would be making dowels. I've had I've had so much what's the word I'm looking for here, failures, shall we say. I've had so much failures with making dowels. It's probably, well, it is. It's my own fault. You know, selection of wood and using you know, killing dried and whatever else. Sometimes that's all you've got. So, you know, sometimes, you know, beggars can't be choosers. So if I'm making small dowels, what I'll often actually do, I'll actually use my cordless drill. You know, I'll get the basic square. Maybe use me drawer knife, take the corners off. I'll whack it in the chuck, and I'll use me dowel maker, me Veritas dowel maker, or conical tenon cutter. Kind of does like the two things. So when I do that, I always have problems. Always, you know, from the dowel basically splitting, you know, for it not being a good selection, or, you know, like not being a straight grain. And even sometimes when I do have a straight grain, I manage to find a straight grain amongst all the timber, it still can be problematic. So it does kind of stress us out, and I don't look forward to making them. When I know I've got to make them, I don't look forward to it. One of the things I did find out that does actually help, the end that you put in the chuck, if you put some technician's tape on it, so the technician's tape actually helps to hold things together. You know, I tightly wrap it around. That does seem to help a lot, but it's one of those things. Unfortunately, sometimes you need to make this. Sometimes you need to make dowel. So if I'm making bigger dowel, obviously they won't fit. It won't fit in the chuck. So I'll normally just plane this, do it by hand. And one of the problems I have with this, and probably anybody else will have with this, if you're doing, you know, if you're doing like unplugged woodworking and you're using maybe a Roman bench as the work holding, you can make little jigs and stuff, but even when you make these jigs, it can be still timely to make them. And I think, me personally, I'm a little bit impatient, and when things are starting to like drag out, you know, it can stress us out a little bit, and I do tend to lose interest. So next on the list is apply and finish. Ironically, so I don't know about anyone else, but like when I finished a project, you know, I've cut all the joints and everything's glued up, and, you know, I've removed all the glue, cleaned everything up. One of the things I'm most eager to do is put the finish on. And this is obviously the first coat. And why I like to do this is obviously because everything just pops. All the mechanics of the joints are like visible. You know, like, you know, if you're doing like the likes of dovetails, you know, and obviously the grain of the wood, it just pops, and it's absolutely awesome, and I totally love that. But as soon as that's done, I don't want I don't want anything else to do with finishes. It's just I don't know. I don't even know. It doesn't stress us out. It's just I've just got no interest whatsoever in applying a second and a third, a fourth, a fifth. I just don't want to do it. I don't know if anyone else gets like that, because obviously I do know there's some people that's the favourite part of the build for them, but it's not for me. Like I say, once that first coat's like done and dusted, like I ain't interested anymore. That's probably why I wanted to check out odies, because it's like a one coat. I know there's what do you call the other one? Is it rubies? I forget the name of it now, but that's like a mono coat. I did actually fancy trying that out, but it's expensive, and I think is it the accelerator? I haven't looked into it 100%, but I think there's some sort of accelerator, and apparently it's supposed to be carcinogenic. I'm not totally sure with that, so please don't start saying it's carcinogenic. That's kind of I don't know where I've read that. I've read it somewhere, but I could be totally wrong, and I probably am totally wrong, because I don't think they would have it on the market if it was. But I still might try. The product that I'm talking about. Obviously, one coat. I also believe that you don't have to go past 120 grits, which is an added bonus. So yeah, I might give that a try and see, because as I've just said, once it's past the first coat, I'm just I'm just not interested. Next on the list is sharpening, small chisels, small irons, things like that. So one of the things with sharpening, like small chisels or narrow chisels, shall we say, the likes of like 8mm, quarter of an inch, things like that, or 3mm chisels. Problem with this is it starts to get hard to keep the edge of the chisels like square, and I tend to get rather upset, when I knock it out of when I knock the edge out of square, because I don't have a grinder, I don't have an electrical grinder, anything like that. So like any major work to square something up like that, it's done by hand. And if anyone's done it by hand with diamond plates, it can take quite a while, depending on what type of iron it is. If it's a treated steel, it can take quite a long time to do. So it's one of them. I actually get really mad with myself, but it is the nature of the beast. It's like combination, like a combination plane or like a rebate plane. Like the blades and those tend to be really small, so sometimes they can be really fiddly, to basically hold, to get the right angle, and it's rather easy to catch your fingers on like sharp edges and stuff. Not on the iron itself, but like rather on the edge of the wherever I am. There might be some kind of, I don't know, some, maybe the edge of the what's the word I'm looking for here? The edge of the diamond plate itself, or maybe the wood that it's mounted on, the plywood that it's mounted on. So it's not nice in that respect. Next up is glue ups, specifically joints, mainly dovetails. Dovetails can be really, really stressful, at least for me, on the glue up portion. Um, a lot of joints can be like that. Even the other day when I was making the mitre, the bridle joint, put it together. You know, it was a decent fit. I was happy with the fitness, the fitness. I was happy with the fit, and I kind of had it in the back of my mind. I thought, as soon as I put this, this glue on and try to put the thing together, it's going to start acting itself. And yeah, it done that exactly. I put the glue on, and I tried to put the thing together, and the glue was just grabbing, and I was having like a really hard time to get the mitre to basically to meet up to join. I was getting it so far, and it was just grabbing. You know, do you know when it just starts annoying you? I think that's one of the it's one of the like conundrums, if you will. At least for me it is, because I'm always on the emphasis. I say this time and time again. I always think you should have a nice tight joint, not to the point where you're bashing the holy hell out of it to get it together, but you know, in the instance of dovetails, you know, I believe you should have to tap them like home, basically. But going back to the dovetails, when you're doing multiple dovetails, I've had some right old times, like basically trying to get the dovetails together. So when I actually cut dovetails, as I've mentioned lots of times, I like to have them nice and snug. You know, so basically, like I've just said, you have to hammer them home. You know, not excessively, but you know, you do have to hammer them. Use a mallet to hammer them home. So it's just really, really stressful. I mean, you can put the PVA glue in the fridge, you know, and this does kind of help a little bit, but they still grab. You know, there's no getting away from it. Obviously, the more dovetails you've got, you know, in a board, or normally in my case, I've got multiple boards glued together. It's just a nightmare. You know, I suppose on a good note, you know, I know it's going to be hard to get them apart. You know, should some stress be applied on the joints? That's the good thing about it. But obviously, that's probably one of the worst things I would have to say that stresses out in woodworking. Gluing up dovetails, probably. So last one for today, working on small parts. For anyone, the same again, for anyone that works on a Roman workbench, does like viceless woodwork, and this can be really, really tricky. You know, the likes of making wedges, you know, just to wedge up, you know, maybe motors and tenon joints, or chair legs, or even making you know, like a wedge for maybe some sort of a gauge you're making, you know, like a mortise gauge, anything like that. That can be pretty tricky. So kind of what I try to do with things like that, I try to keep them as big as possible for as long as possible, if that makes sense. Maybe say I'm making a wedge for a marking gauge, let's just say, and maybe it's got two bulbs at either end, or two bulges at either ends, two noses at either end, however you want to say it. So basically these stop the wedge from falling out, you know, when it's knocked loose. So what I would do with that, I would have like a long length, maybe, I don't know, maybe a foot long, couple of foot, whatever, and I'll try and shape that as much as humanly possible before I cut it to length. So maybe the length might be maybe 2 inches at the most, something like that. So basically I'll try and keep it in that foot length for as long as possible, and I'll do absolutely everything to it. And that's how I approach everything like that, whether it's like something like that, or whether it's kind of making wedges for chairs, even dowels, or pegs. If I'm making pegs for the Roman workbench, or I'm making dogs for the Roman workbench, same again. I'll keep them as long as possible, for as long as possible. I just find it just makes life so much easier. If something's long, it means you can clamp the part that's not getting worked on, and obviously the clamps are out of your way to use chisels on the section, or use saws, whatever you're doing. So that's probably some of the trickiest. I don't think it's necessarily stressful for us, but it can be some of the trickier things to do, working on smaller pieces. I think this is kind of I think it's kind of tricky for everyone, to be honest, unless you're working with small things day in and day out. And I think even then it can still be tricky, although I don't work on things, small things, day in and day out. But my hat goes off to those that do. I've seen some wonderful, like, small pieces of woodwork, and if I'm looking at them, usually on Instagram, I can appreciate how much skill and effort and patience that goes into making something as small as whatever it may be what I'm looking at. So I'm going to call it. I feel I've babbled on enough today. And thank you very much for listening, really appreciate it. And until the next time, I shall speak to you guys later.